What's going on, y'all? It's Michael McLeod, and today I'll be talking about the Summer March and how it is and was a turning point in the civil rights movement. So the key organizers were definitely Martin Luther King Jr. at the top as being the leader of the SCLC. John Lewis, the chairman of the SNCC. Williams, the SCLC organizer. So that goes to show that even though Martin Luther King was the head honcho, he still had people playing a significant role, organizing, directing, like James Bevel, directing, doing big things that helps keep the movement alive and keep attention to detail, keep grabbing the attention from the nation as well, which is very important to keep the civil rights alive and be able to get these acts passed as well. So there was local activists like Amelia Boynton and also the Dallas County Voters League, like people that helped trying to get voting rights in the South, in the Dallas County, like within Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. So obviously the goal of the march was to protest and to have suppression be abolished and demand the right for the African Americans to vote, to be able to have that voting right is very important. And I feel like a lot of people today is not taking advantage of that and thinking, okay, my vote don't count, but it definitely does. People were dying back then to get that voting right, if that makes sense. So the background will also be, even though the 15th Amendment was established, blacks in the South were still facing things like poll taxes, literary tests, and intimidation by the white folks, like Sheriff Jim Clark as well. Like people were like scared to line up to even get a chance to vote. So it's like just draws the attention from voting and just people just scared for their lives. So there's also a focus on Selma because Selma was the focal point because of the track record of how Selma and the local and the state police forces and stuff like that, things of that nature, they were discriminating against voters, especially against blacks. So the three marches, the first one, as y'all can see in the picture, was Bloody Sunday, which was on the March 1st, where marchers were attacked by both the state and local law enforcement on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. In the picture, you can see John Lewis getting hit by one of the police force members, and it goes to show that the type of beating that they were taking to get these voting rights passed and just to get attention to the civil rights movement. Also, turnaround Tuesday was on that Tuesday, March 3rd, where MLK, he decided that they would not act violently and they would act non-violently and turn and march around. But people wasn't all in agreement to that. Even though they all turned around, there was outrage. Like John Lewis, he was outraged because of how because they were thinking, okay, we just gonna give up. But then a couple weeks later, I want to say 2.5 weeks later, with orders from a judge and with the spread of awareness to President Johnson, Johnson was able to help the movement keep growing during the third march, and he did so by sending troops to protect the 3,200 participants of the march, and the group was able to pull off this successful march from Selma to Montgomery. I think it's about 54 miles. So the outcome and the impact is obvious, national. So definitely, for the first Bloody Sunday, the national outrage was because the violence was shown on TV of Bloody Sunday and how drastic the events was taking place, and it shook the nation because it brought more and more people for the movement and against the people that was trying to keep segregation a thing. So also the impact on the Summer March was the Voting Rights Act being passed, and it was signed into law by President Johnson, and that's a big thing because I feel like without Johnson, this voting law wouldn't have got passed. This Voting Rights Act wouldn't have got passed because he was that type of president. He was like in your face type of guy. You know what I mean? So it banned this what's it called, discriminatory voting practices. So it allowed for blacks to vote and wouldn't be discriminated with like poll taxes and literary tests. So it increased voting registration because it allowed African American voting registration in the South, which is what the which I feel like that's like one of the biggest thing or the biggest victory of the civil rights movement in the '60s. So the lasting impact and connections would have to it would just have to be like just showing it just sounds a light on the power of nonviolent protest and how it's so important that we practice that nonviolent. We don't have to react to violence we don't have to react with everything to everything with violence. And it takes a lot of patience because this wasn't just a 1 year type of thing. This was like from the past, I want to say past, this is like from the past 50 years, 50, 60 years. It just had to be patient, it had to be poised. And this was built on the earlier protests before Martin Luther King was like the leader of the leader of the civil rights movement. It goes back to the freedom rides, the bus boycotts, things that was like organized to spread that awareness, to give that attention on the civil rights movement. So Selma, it still remains a symbol as a fight for voting rights, and it just shines a light on how people back then were putting their lives on the line, and the sacrifices that were made to get to where we are as a nation today, and just having it being a more equal nation than it was before the civil rights movement even took place. So it just goes to show how far we came and how far we need to go as well. So just make improvements as well. And I think that's very, very important to look back at and to understand how far we came and not lose sight of that because it's so important. And this is the work sign page. I just want to say, appreciate y'all. Much love. Yeah, have a good one.